So ready, everyone? 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Vibrations podcast hosted by Holly and Steve. This week's topic, crop circles. Holly, how are we this week?
We are fantastic.
Fantastic.
Chugging along. Did that sound believable?
Yeah.
Hey, all right. Give the girl Academy Award.
Yeah, we don't have I don't have an audio effect, or there isn't one in here that says golf clap. I wanted golf clap.
Thanks. Goodness.
But yeah. So we got crop
ahead.
circles.
Yes, I chose the topic this week. And I chose crop circles because it used to be something that was talked about a lot, and then it just kind of fell by the wayside. And so I just kind of wanted to see where it was at and do a little research on it. So when we first heard about crop circles, let me think. I think most of us were pretty fascinated by it. And then our fascination turned to disappointment as we were told that they were man-made and it was hoaxes and all done by hoaxers, right?
Yeah.
Well, at that point, I think a lot of us stopped paying attention. And I think that was a mistake because that was not even close to the whole story or the truth. When do you remember first hearing about crop circles?
I mean, pretty.
You and I are like close to the same age.
Probably, I'd say. I mean, that's why I'm having trouble picking the year, but probably pretty damn close to the time that I started really learning about aliens and UFOs. It was pretty tied in together.
Probably in the 80s, right?
Yeah, probably.
The 80s, high schoolish age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I mean, as soon as I mean, it really was like, maybe it wasn't the same day, but I do remember that was like, I've learned so many facets beyond since, but I remember that was one of the initial ones. UFOs, crop circles. There was even movies about crop circles.
Right.
You know,
well,
I remember even Mel Gibson did one even in the 90s that I remember.
Oh, that was that Signs?
Signs, yeah.
That was a good movie.
That was a good movie.
Right. Well, in Wiltshire, UK in 1963, we had the first eyewitness accounts of this phenomenon. Now, when I say eyewitness, I don't mean they saw the crop circle being made, but they saw the first crop circle that is down on record. And that was before there was even a term to describe that. And they would
1983?
No, 63.
Oh, 63. I was going to say, that seems way too late. I mean, not for me realizing it, but I was like...
Right. Well, it did kind of blow up around the 80s, and that's kind of when everybody kind of started talking about it. They really weren't talking a lot about it back in the 60s. But anyway, the guy that found this one thought that it was caused from a meteor. And they called it spiral flattening because that was really the only word they had for it. Crop circles wasn't there. But anyway, that was just the first eyewitness account that we've reported. But if you look back in the history books, they actually go back to the 1600s, which I didn't know that. I thought that was pretty fascinating. And back in the 1600s, they would talk about a light always being seen like the night before or in the night. And then the next day they'd wake up and here was this crop circle, right? Well, they were pretty basic in the beginning. And then in the 70s and 80s.
Wait, while you're on this, though, I gotta at least touch on that because I had noticed it too. When I was looking at the video I was watching, and I was also reading on my tablet at the same time, some things. It's funny that a lot of these sightings always involve the lights above, but I don't even know if I've seen any where we saw the craft landed.
I don't think I've seen that either yet.
It's just kind of strange. I mean, but okay. I mean,
right.
I mean, I guess that's part of creating them too, is.
As most people know, in 91, these two gentlemen came out that were in their 50s or 60s, I believe, at that time. And they claimed that they created all the crop circles in England between 1978 Well, at first they said they started in 1978, but they said, yes, all the crop circles in England prior to 1987, we created as a hoax because we wanted people to think that UFOs and aliens were landing in their wheat fields.
So wait, before you even move on, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they even want? Thank you, Mandy, for the super claps again. We're gonna have to learn the beans. And hi, nerd girl. Welcome, welcome.
You're in the right place.
But
Why? Why? Because I don't know. They thought it was funny. They were just pulling a prank.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Didn't you
keep
ever
going.
prank anybody when you were young?
Yeah, yeah.
Pause
But
your
I mean,
refrigerator running.
as we go on here, it's gonna. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna think the same thing because these are so mathematically correct. There's just
Yeah.
no way. There's just no way.
Yep. We're gonna get there. Well, so they were asked, how they did it, and they gave, their story, which seemed pretty believable. And they were asked to demonstrate how they did it. Well, every time they demonstrated the crop circle, it was out of alignment every single time. And their story kept changing. At first, it was, we started in 1978. Then it was 1976. Then it was, so their story kept changing. They just couldn't keep it straight. And also in that same year, there was a biophysicist named Dr. William Levengood, and he studied the stalks from several of the different crop circles around. And he did actually a decade-long study, and he discovered that the stalks were exposed to high levels of electromagnetic and microwave radiation, which caused the stalks to become soft and bend without breaking, without killing the plant. And they say that even today, that technology does not exist for
Yeah,
us to do that. So that's
yeah.
pretty good evidence, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, again. I hate to go to the movies all the time, but to go to the Mel Gibson movie Signs. I mean, and I was trying to think, and I just thought of it. It's Joaquin Phoenix too. Um, so yeah, well done movie. And to be honest, like you know, I don't know if you remember from that movie, but even the cop comes out and they're like, "Well, maybe it was the so and so boys or whatever," and it's like even the cops saying like, "Hey, this could have been done in the night with Mo." Really? Because it's, I mean, I don't know if you kept seeing it too, but there's something. I mean, there's definitely mathematical preciseness that is
Right.
unmatchable, but there's something to do with the number pi too. Everything can be worked with pi to figure out the radius, and it's crazy. I was watching
Right.
this
There was
with
something with the numbers 3, 6, and 9.
yep, yep.
And Tesla with his
Hmm.
whole, which was really funny that I heard that he was involved in this whole thing with his no energy deal that tied into this, which I thought was a little crazy. Um, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? They were just so detailed, and you have to think about that. They're showing up over a night. They're big, they're detailed, they're done in the dark. So who can go out there and create something like that with that kind of detail in the dark
Well, I mean,
in like
I'll
4 hours?
take it a step farther. Who could do that if they had a month to do it in daylight?
True that.
I mean, honestly, like I don't
True
even know
that.
why we're going. Who could do it in the dark? My challenge would be like, I guess why is nobody challenged like the police and things like that? Like, fine, here's my crop field. You know what? I just pulled all my harvest. I'll tell you what, we're going on vacation for a week. When I get back, you have a crop circle. Show, I don't even care that it takes you a week. Show me you can do it since you know what
Well,
it is.
that's funny that you say that because there is a famous Mexican journalist, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, Yami Masao or something. I'm sorry, I don't know his name.
You can
Anyway,
type it
but
in the chat.
he has been covering ET related research for over 40 years. And so when he was asked about crop circles over the years and what he had learned and what his thoughts were, he said that he's investigated them in Mexico, Brazil, England, and mostly England, but he knows that they also appear in Germany and France, Spain, Czechoslovakia. And he believes that they are from extraterrestrials because he said they are perfect. There's no misalignments or anything. They
Mhm.
appear in the middle of the night. They're complex, they're very big, and no one has proved that they can do crop circles like these. And he has offered $100,000 to anyone who can prove that they can do a complex formation like the circles that he's referring to. And he said, this doesn't even have to be perfect. But if you can come and do this in the middle of the night, in the dark, with no lights, and not leave any trace, now there's a condition that, I have to be there, I have to film it for proof. But if you can do that, $100,000 is yours. No one has done it.
Yeah. Right. Which exactly, I mean, like, so when you have governments, and that's another thing too, like almost what 98% of crop circles are in the UK. Weird. So,
Well, there have
it's
been
like,
over 1,000 of them, though, and they've been on every continent in the world. They've
yeah,
been
yeah.
everywhere. So
But the UK seems to get them a lot, or
they
did.
do.
I
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they do. You're right. You're right.
I mean, I don't know if it's something around, I mean, then you go to Stonehenge kind of thing, a different rabbit hole, but I mean, like maybe it's something around there because I know there's other things, other beacon type things in the UK like Stonehenge, and maybe that was an even more relic way of doing whatever they're doing now. Because I know that I had a question for you since this was your topic tonight, was that, and I know there's no direct answer, but the best guess after seeing and reading whatever you were looking at this week, do you think that, let's assume that it is not man-made because there's no way they could do it? Um, do you think these crop circles are aliens if it is trying to communicate, or are they mapping sequences for aliens themselves and not for our use?
I'm not 100% sure on that. So honestly, I don't have an
Nobody
opinion
is.
yet. No, well, there's a movie that I'll suggest that y'all watch. It's a documentary that was made in 21, and the name of it is Crop Circles. Where did I put that? I love when I write something down. Oh, there it is. Crop Circle Realities. And you can find it on YouTube for free. Um, and I didn't actually get to finish watching that today, but I kind of caught earshot. So I definitely want to go back. And this will be something maybe we can come back and revisit this another day, because they were talking about in this movie about the different circles and kind of what they meant and the 369 thing, and kind of answering the question that you just asked me. So that is
Mhm.
something I'll go back and look, and we'll talk about it
Well, I
another
mean,
day. But
it was more just your opinion more than anything, but
well, but I think I have to kind of listen to the
oh, I
information
hear you. I
and
hear
what
you.
they have before I can have an opinion. So
So I see Phil said no way they are man-made. I kind of agree. I mean, I agree with that for
yeah,
sure.
I
But
think maybe 10% were.
then he makes that's so great. That's a great. I love his answer. Then he says alien gang tagging.
That's funny.
Like, so you're
That's my
saying
gang
like
sign.
in LA, like when
Yeah.
we spray paint a wall, if like another gang spray paints over it, they go and kill all your people. So you're just saying it's like, yo, this is our territory, yo.
We're the Grays.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that a lot. It's like, if that way, if different, visitors come here that haven't been here before, they're like, oh damn it, those guys already got
We already got that field.
it. This ain't our hood.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. That great comment, Phil. Thank you very much. Needed that laugh.
That was
Um, yeah, I don't know. So where are we now? Because I have other questions too, but let's see what else you got too.
well, I don't have a lot more except just that, I find that a lot of people just heard that it was a hoax and it was left at that, and they don't know all of this other information.
If it's a hoax though, why, I mean, like, I don't know about what you were watching, reading, but the things I looked into, like, I mean, every time one of these happens, there's a ground sample team that comes out, that
Right. And the
takes
helicopters that
the
are always
dirt,
above.
that
Yeah.
takes the plants, that
Hmm.
takes this, that, the other. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yes.
hey, Lou Rock, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy. But it's always like there's teams that come out, and it's exactly like we're used to. They're compartmentalized. Like you get the team out to take the soil stuff and this and that, and then they get the scientists out who do the math, and the math is never wrong. I mean, these things are so damn precise. I don't even know. I would even put the challenge out to John Deere. Now, those of you in the UK, I think you probably know what John Deere is. To me, in America, John Deere is the top of the line for for farming, cropping, all
Tractors, right.
the stuff. They make the best equipment that could even attempt this that we have. And so I would even challenge John Deere, and I think they'd be like, dude, we can't do that. Like, I honestly think they would. They wouldn't want to even be involved. They'd be like, dude, our equipment can't do that. And at which point I would say, then what equipment can?
Right. Well, they say we don't even have the technology to do
Yeah.
some of the things that are involved with the crop circles,
But yet,
like the
anytime
vision.
anybody reports one, people are able, it's not, it's, the one big difference with crop circles is that it's not like, hey, I saw an alien last night. It's like, hey, come over, check this out. Like you get to come look at it.
Right. Well, I've also heard of people that have gone out there and sat when they have like some serious illness. And this one lady sat there like for 2 days or something, and whatever she had cured up. So I'm
Well, what
not
if you
quite
go to
sure
the
what that
wrong,
means.
what if you go to the wrong hood, as our friend Phil put it, that was
They're the
gang
wrong
tagged by the
gang.
wrong people, and it gives you something. you know?
Mhm.
Oh, I heard that I can sit in this and it'll cure me, and all of a sudden you got 4 more diseases. It's
You're
like
terrible.
you're in the wrong hood, buddy. Like, well, I mean, listen, we're going to go down a lot of rabbit holes, and to be honest, we're going to, even no matter what people believe, I mean, people are going to, um, uh, like we're going to talk about different alien species and stuff. So whatever you believe about that kind of thing isn't really the point here. But one thing we do know is that not all, I mean, at least from pretty much everybody in this space, I don't think anybody ever says the word bad, maybe a little, but all alien species have a different agenda with Earth. That's something pretty common in this field.
Well, I agree.
That they, like, and especially some of these people who say that, we've been working with certain civilizations, whatever you want to say, ETs, whatever, for some time, and even some of the ones we work with, our own government people who have come out and leaked, have said, well, um, not all of them, even that we work with, are good. And thinking about that, it makes sense to me, right? Like maybe some people, maybe some of the aliens that come here are coming here to just kind of look out for us. Maybe some are coming here to study this, but maybe some are coming here with bad intent, just like our governments.
Right. Well, I mean, there's good and
Like
bad people. So,
not everybody's got good intent. And I don't,
right.
and I mean, I know that a lot of times, a lot of these things say all aliens are super life forms, but that doesn't mean they're all good intended.
No, no, for sure.
I mean, I know that, one thing that maybe down the line we'll do is the moon landing. And I've dove into that a few times. And there's things about that one where there was civilizations on the moon, and they were, their whole planet was dying off. They couldn't live there anymore. And they were targeting other planets on whatever they had to do to get there, and then whatever they would have to do to be there. And in my book, that's kind of like, I mean, I'd have to get into it more to speak on it wisely, but to be honest, that's where I get to like, well, so I mean, like basically their land dried up, they're going to come get ours, and if they have more technology than us, that's going to be a no-brainer.
That's true. But I mean, what we have seen, at least so far, is that there is more concern because they show up at our nuclear plants. And
Yeah.
every time we try and fire one into space, they blow it away.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if whenever we get to nuclear silos, I mean, at least I'm not saying I'd be surprised and I'd learn this and I'd think this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of things that say, I mean, I'm just guessing, but that people are out there who think nuclear silos are not even needed. They are simply, they were made to let the aliens know we can wreck the planet. It's not worth harvesting.
Well, I don't think they were made with anything about aliens in mind, do you?
I don't know. When did nuclear silos start going up?
I think
Around the
they were
same
a
time as
message.
Roswell, right?
They were a message to Russia, pretty much, weren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, but again, you're going on what we were told.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they're
Wait,
not.
wait.
Again,
Are you saying that we can't trust what we're told?
I wouldn't.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't trust what anybody tells me.
I'm kidding.
Um, but yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know. I did see something. This was kind of strange. So I was watching something that was, I think it was on Discovery or whichever one does the UFO, maybe Smithsonian Channel. And in 2004, this is weird to me too because there was a rock found near Roswell. Like, and when I say near, I mean like basically in Roswell. And to me, I'm like 2004, and almost the story stopped there. What do you mean something was found? Wait, where are we going from here? In 2004, you guys, I would think there's nothing to find in Roswell anymore. Like they have gone through that. No way, you ain't find nothing. Like,
The aliens swing by and drop stuff off once in a while just to keep people talking.
but honestly, so this is very strange though. This in 2004, there was a rock found in Roswell. Okay.
Hmm.
And it was a very smooth rock, circular. On there was a um like like kind of a crop circle, like an actual marking that was so detailed, and it was it was extruding from the rock. So it wasn't like engraved into the rock, it was coming out of the rock of the same material. And I mean, everybody, what I had seen is that there's no, again, it's one of those things, we have no way of doing this kind of thing. And then that was found in 2004. When it was researched through the catalog, it exactly matched a crop circle in England found in 1997.
Hmm.
Like the engraving on the rock was this exact same as the crop circle found in England
Well, I know that there were
7 years
two crop
prior.
circles that were done very close together, time wise. I think it was maybe March and April of 2017 that were identical.
Hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if I just found that weird. I did see too the crop circles. I saw the crop circles all seem to be fractal patterns. And I was comparing because I often look into fractal patterns, especially because whenever I investigate DMT, and yes, any of you listening, it's not going to be we're going to get our groove totally down first before we jump into that one, because that one could be a two-parter. But DMT is a whole thing of its own. And the sequencing of what people see is exactly that. It's all fractal patterns. And that's how even the scientists from way before were saying that's how they referred to it. Oh, the fractal patterns of this crop circle, the fractal diameter of this. They used the word fractal, and that's kind of what is in the DMT realm too. So it is strange. I know that some people, I had sent you, Holly, a thing on, and I love Rogan, but I sent you a thing on from from Joe Rogan where, he's saying that he spoke with God. And I've heard this before um, in a DMT state. And I kind of wonder if, did you speak with God, or does DMT lift your elevation enough to be able to communicate without words?
Well, I don't know
On which
a
on
whole
which
lot
at
about
which point at
DMT.
which point, I guess my point is, maybe they're not here, but maybe in that very short time, that short dimension that you're in it, maybe maybe there is some translation going on there, and that's, I mean, because we know that shamans and stuff use um, ayahuasca and stuff to clean their bodies and their souls, right? So maybe it is a tool for connectivity. I don't know.
I don't know. To me, I think they're on drugs. They're hallucinating. I just
I
can't trust a word of anybody that's putting a substance in their body and then telling me something happens.
Yeah, I hear you. The
That's
one thing that I think you'll find though that's pretty interesting here is that DMT is not an abused drug. And in fact, most people that when we do get to this, most people who do use DMT do it in settings where it's like professors and things like that at a house because
well, there's
after
professors that
this
do cocaine. What's the? I mean,
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's not it's people don't do DMT and then do it again for a while. Even if they really enjoyed it, like it's something you do very rarely. So it is I put it on more of a ayahuasca type thing, you know. I mean, I guess we're going to need to when we
that's
do
just
that
my
one we'll find out.
initial thought. But like I said,
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about DMT, so I
I
will.
also I also saw with the crop circles that and this was I didn't have time to jump down this enough, but that some had suggested wormhole travel through the crop circles.
Yes, I read something about black holes having something to do with crop circles as well.
Right, or like, I guess what I was saying is what I saw was that maybe these crop circles are made and then um it's they're there and it's people are like, well, what is this? We don't get it. Is it for the aliens? Is it to communicate with us? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's literally like a teleporting portal. I don't know. I just was seeing something about that it could be wormhole travel too. And so when I see that interests me a lot because I start thinking, because you got to wonder where like some entities might get here through not UFO technology.
Oh, well, obviously. I mean, we have ghosts and spirits and demons and poltergeists
Yeah.
and, all that stuff that has nothing to do with the aliens. But um, I have two questions, though.
Uh-oh.
And, there's, I want your thoughts because I don't know what to think about this. Why, with all of the evidence out there regarding the crop circles and, hey, we don't have the technology for this and, all the things that we've already talked about, are there people out there that still say, they'll write an article for a magazine and say, oh, all crop circles were man-made, period.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can come up with is the same thing that the government's been doing for years by like now, like we were joking about it either last week or the week before, calling, oh yeah, we know about UAPs. You guys were calling them UFOs. Oh, we didn't know you meant that. Like when they did roll out, hey, we got some things to tell you. I can only come up with the fact that either they don't understand either or they do, and in either case they think that the human race is not ready to hear what it is. But
Well,
again I point to the fact that you can't just go, it's not like me calling you and saying, Holly, come over quick, I saw a UFO right now, because you wouldn't get here, you wouldn't see it, so
right,
that's that. Even if I really did and I caught it on video, so all kinds of people are going to say nope, fake, blah blah blah. Even if I didn't fake it and it's real and whatnot, they're still going to claim all that. With a crop circle, I can do exactly that. Hey, Holly, come here, check this out.
right,
So I think especially these days with drones and things, it used to be them up there with helicopters and all these other things. Now the owner of the house can just put a drone up there, video the whole thing.
right. Well, actually, in 1996, there was a guy who went camping and he was out there by himself. It was 3 a.m. and he saw several glowing orbs that were hovering above a field. So he grabbed his video camera and filmed it. So he's the first one that actually has that on film. The next morning, of course, he went and told all of his, friends and anybody that would listen to him, because the next morning when he woke up, there was this crop circle. Sorry, that was kind of the main point of the story. He saw the orbs and then there was a crop circle. And
Mm-hmm.
it was during the time of year where they only had like 4 to 5 hours of darkness. So, and that's another thing. The people that say they're all man made. Okay, well, how do they do that in 4 hours in the dark? That just makes no sense at all. But
No.
anyway, so he goes and
Again,
tells
I'm
everybody, and
surprised just the one person that you said did the test.
mhm.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
no,
Like,
I'm
you're
sure
talking
there's
about
other
just
ones
this
out
this
there,
one
but
Hispanic guy. Yeah, I know, but there should be tons of them.
right.
Okay, here. I'm going on vacation. Here you go. You got 5 days. You know? You're saying this was done in the nighttime over an hour? Cool. You got 150 hours. Go.
Yeah. And to make them perfect
Yeah.
and the stocks don't
You
break
don't
and
even care. Just go. If you can do it in
or
150 hours, even if it takes you that long, okay, I'll now talk about your other theory.
and
But
sometimes the stalks are braided and things like that, that I mean, even makes it
yeah,
more
that's my
difficult.
point. There's no, and I think that that's part of it. Maybe that's part of just an awakening too. Like, maybe it's like almost like an in your face government for lying to your people. Like, watch this. Like, you can't do that. Explain that to your people. You know what I
Well, that
mean?
was going to be my next question. Now that the government is finally starting to admit a little bit that UAPs exist, I don't know about UFOs, but UAPs do. Um, maybe they'll come out and start talking about crop circles again then.
Yeah. I again, you brought up something that is strange to me. It's now I'm equating uh um so now I'm equating crop circles to abductions. Does that make sense?
Why?
Because in the 80s they were huge.
Oh, true.
We heard about crop circles all the time. We heard about
Yep,
abductions all the time.
true.
Now, I'm sure it still happens, but we do not hear about it as much.
I wonder why.
I know, but it's weird that both of those aren't true, right? I
Right.
mean,
They
I
both,
think my belief on the abduction part, just real quick, is that, like obviously it's just it was a way to I think that for a while in the late 80s, people stopped reporting it because people that were reporting it went missing. So it was like, hey, I got take, it was like they weren't even just being thrown in psych wards all the time. They just went missing for just even saying it.
mm-hmm.
And that leads me to believe, as always, that those people had a real story to tell, or they wouldn't just be missing. They would just declare them crazy. And, because in a lot of this space, and I don't like it, we'll have to look up the percentage sometime, because I know they love this, using this in their stat. There are some people out there who like to say anybody who believes in any of this stuff are the schizophrenics. And I really hate
Wow.
that. I really think that's just beyond rude, because now we've admitted to UAPs. So now what? Now what are you doing to all the schizophrenics you
Right.
you you lied to and lied about? Like, how first of all, how dare you? Because schizophrenia is not something they want to have either.
Right. For sure.
So if they do report, I mean, don't go, oh great, we got a schizophrenic report. Let's put that one right out in front for people. Don't do
Mhm.
that.
No. No, mental health is nothing to make anyone feel bad about. It's not something you can control.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. If there was a way for a schizophrenic not to be, I guarantee they would choose not to be.
I mean, you find one person that doesn't have some kind of mental health issue, whether it's depression, anxiety, or something more severe, like bipolar or schizophrenia. I think pretty much everybody has something. If they don't, God love them, because I don't know anybody that doesn't, including myself.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing these days, dude. Like, honestly, like, here's my advice: don't go see a psychiatrist unless you know you need to. And some people need to, and it's not even a bad thing, because they will find 100 things wrong with everybody.
True.
Like, if you just
Well,
go in there blindly and go, "I've been having a hard time," they're gonna be like, "Oh, let's find out what you're all about." Like,
well,
let's get
you
some
don't even
pills
have
in
to
you.
go. You don't have to go see a psychiatrist anymore if you need an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety or something. I mean, if you've got something that's more involved, then sure.
Sure.
But
I'm just saying that if you go in there blindly, like, I'm just not sure. Like, I guess my advice would be,
right,
maybe, like, we live in an age where you can go research it a little bit. And I love that. It's one of the things that's one of, I think technology is moving too fast, but it's one of the things I do love about it, is that I think you can go on the internet and find, yeah, you're going to find, you got to know how to weave through some stuff. and go, that's just bad information or whatever. And you don't have to take it from government sites, obviously, either, but you can use a couple of different sites to compare some things and then see, okay, wait, I think I understand where I'm at. Because I think it's a lot better if you go in to see somebody and have some idea of what's going on.
Well,
Not
I
like
think if
obviously
somebody gives
diagnose
you
yourself because that'll just piss the doctor off. But
right, but if somebody gives you a serious diagnosis, I would hope that you would get more than one opinion.
right. And do some research for yourself, even with a second opinion.
Right. Well,
I
but
don't know.
some
That's just
people, if
me. I
they're
mean, like,
in
I don't know.
crisis,
Doctors are incentivized big time these days.
no kidding.
I mean, big time. So you never know what pharma they're working with, but
Mm.
they're all, I mean, even if they don't directly do it, the prescription they write that goes to person X is somehow handled through the network that doctor's in, where it's like that. Here's something that's been pissing me off, Holly. I don't know if I've even mentioned this to you, but like, remember when it used to just be with cash? Like, you'd go up and once a year, maybe there'd be a place that was saying like, hey, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar for Ronald McDonald kids?
Mm-hmm.
You know, these days, even with a credit card, they're like, hey, do you want to round up to so it's 33.20. They're like, you want to make it 34 and help the blah blah blah. Even if it's a good cause, do not do that, guys.
Why?
And
I do it all the time.
because those corporations are taking that money and they're using it all as a write-off. If you want to do that, just donate 5, 10, 15, $20 to something you care about yourself.
Well, I do it mostly at Wawa.
See, I
That's
won't
usually
do
when
it
they
because
ask
even
me.
at the grocery stores, like, that is a write-off to them. The grocery stores rip me off every day. I don't want them donating in their name. Because if you think about it, think about if every customer did it in a day. Think about how much money that is that they're donating. And I'm not saying don't donate. I'm just saying, instead of the 40 cents, just go, if you're really interested in doing that, even if it's the cause that you like, go look at the website. And even if the minimum's 5, donate 5.
Well, and I think that some of us do it because
But
if
on a
you're
credit
like
card, I guess,
me,
is what was really getting to me, though. That was my main point in it, was that that makes me sick, because there's no reason on a credit card that needs to be done. That's just them straight up like trying to write off their business, and we already pay high enough taxes as it is. We don't need the corporations taking, hey, do you want to tip us so that we can write it off? No, I don't.
well, tipping is a whole nother rabbit hole because everybody wants you to tip them now, even when they don't do anything. And there are places that
Oh, I agree.
have never, I mean, they want you to friggin' practically tip at the 7-Eleven now because somebody rings you up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, believe me, I'm all for tipping the people that need to be tipped and should be tipped, but why am I
See,
tipping my cashier at
I
7-Eleven?
think
It's
that
like,
might be like the next phase at
oh,
7-Eleven. Watch, like in 5 years, it's going to be like, a guy back there going, okay, this is what you want to buy. Give me $2.
I mean, and it's not at 7-Eleven, but that's already happening, Steve. I've seen it at places like that.
I'm not just
It's
talking about markup,
crazy.
though. I'm talking about, oh, you want to buy all that? Give me $2, and then I'll ring that up.
Well, I'm just talking about they want a tip for ringing it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel like a cheap ass or something if you don't want to give it to them. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
it's like, yeah, exactly. Don't pass the. I understand and I feel for you, but don't assume that I'm so well off either. The cost of living is hurting me as bad as it's hurting you.
but if they're doing a service for me, if they're cutting my hair, if they're making
Oh
my
yeah,
sandwich, if
yeah,
they're
yeah,
serving me,
absolutely,
absolutely I'm going to tip. But if you're just ringing me up,
absolutely.
I don't.
Even, I mean, I even say this: even on bad service, you're getting a tip from me. I might not ever come back, but you're getting a tip from me.
I know. I never stiff anybody, even if they're
I mean,
shitty.
and I never would. No, and nobody should. Why would you stiff anybody?
Because you might have somebody that's just a real asshole that waits on you or whatever.
Yeah, but then here's my thing. They still did a job. Pay them, tip them. Maybe you don't tip as heavy as you like to, but then just never go back.
I would say there's probably,
I would never stiff anybody.
mm, I don't, if somebody would have to be really bad to me, but I can't say never. I can't say never. I would say very extremely rarely, and it would have to be an
If
extreme
okay, if you
situation.
were gonna stiff somebody, would you at least like okay, if I'm in a
Like,
restaurant,
here,
because
bitch, here's your coffee.
no, but like
You're probably not going to get a tip.
being from that industry, and I gotta say, as much as you guys might not think so, I'm gonna tell you this. I would at least I can tell you like if when somebody just leaves, pays their tab and leaves, not bounces on the tab, pays the tab, doesn't tip you and leaves, you're always like, God, that dude stiffed me. And you tell the other servers and bartenders, I would never do it. I just wouldn't go back. But if I were to, I would absolutely, because I would feel it would be so bad I would need to do this. But I would absolutely wait, pay my bill, and then say I need to say something. Because it would have to be this bad. I didn't tip you, and I'm not going to because of this.
I don't know that I would say it to
I
them,
would
but I'd say
need
it
to
to the
tell them I
manager.
wouldn't just leave. Because
Well,
and I say that I'm not because I can't even see that I wouldn't is my point.
some
Even
people will
crappy
leave a
service, I
penny
would. Yeah, but so I see. I wouldn't do
just
any
to
of that
make a
kind of
point.
crap. Yeah, I
Well,
wouldn't
I
do
think
that.
because they're trying to make a point. Hey,
Well, if you want to make
you
a
were
point, tell
shitty.
the person what they did wrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't think most of us probably have the balls to do that, but I think we would probably talk to a manager.
Well, we have the balls to screw somebody out of their pay. We don't know that they
Yeah,
just
because we're
got a
not going to
phone
see them
call that a
again.
parent's dying or something
No, and I know that.
right
I
before
know
their
that.
shift.
That's
So I
why I'm
guess my
saying it would have to be really bad for me to completely not tip. I mean, really bad.
exactly. And so my point is anybody out there, if you literally are like, I'm not going to tip, well, then my challenge to you is to at
Make a
least tell the
sandwich.
person why.
Yeah, no.
So this,
Um,
because hopefully if it's that bad and you normally tip, you should tell them why, because maybe they do this every day. They need to make a tip. So if you tell them something, it might make them a lot more.
yeah, no, if I get bad service and somebody's just like in a bad mood or something, I mean, I do understand that because you're right. You don't know what somebody was going through before they came in the door. So I will still tip, a 10% for a bad service. But I mean, if somebody was like, I don't know, like, here's your coffee, bitch. Like I just, and wow, you're looking really fat today. Wow, where'd you get all those wrinkles? I mean, somebody would have to say something pretty rude to me before I would not tip. Or, oh, look, my server happens to be the girl that just
See,
slept with my ex boyfriend. I don't think I'm going to tip her. I don't
that
know.
point though, I would even be like, I would be like, I'm going to the bathroom, and I would actually probably just skate on the tab on that one.
Now that is something I've
And
never done and
that's
never would
something
do.
I would never do. You
No, but
know
I
me.
do
I
know
would
people that did.
if somebody did that to me, I would actually, and I would tell them that too. I'm leaving. Well, you already ate the food. I don't care. You're paying for it. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I
Like,
wouldn't. I am not. If no, dash
I
and
mean,
dine is
you
not
can't. I
correct.
mean, like if extreme as you said, if somebody were like, God, you're sick and fat, man. What the hell? I'd be like,
Why are you
okay.
eating that pie?
I would say thanks for buying me lunch, and I'd leave.
Yeah, something like that I can see.
Because
But like the
if they
people that
because
just dash and
what are they
dine
gonna
because
do?
they're
Call the cops?
dine and dash. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Because I mean, go ahead, call the cops. You want to explain all this?
but when the bars close at 2, that IHOP and Waffle House, all the places that are open late, the drunk people go to eat. And that used
Yeah.
to be me, 12, 13, 14 years ago. So I get, they go in there and they're drunk and they eat and they leave.
See, we
I
were all us
pay, but I
bartenders and stuff. Like,
would
there's
go
the place called the Denver Diner, and we all would go and converge there, and like
eat.
at 3 in the
Yeah.
morning because it's open 24/7,
Yep.
and we would tip these people through the roof. Like the midnight shifters did awesome there from
Oh, I
us.
would too. But
I mean, because we would have just made bank on a Friday night, let's say. I mean, we would literally go to Denny's type. I mean, it's a lot. It has a lot more history, the Denver
yeah,
Diner
we
and
always went to
whatnot.
Steak and
But it's
Shake.
kind of like it's just a diner, and we would go in there and maybe between a group of 4 bartenders just eating and having coffee or whatever, we would tip $100. We would tip definitely more than the tab.
Oh, wow. That's really good.
I mean, you're just in one of those. It's almost like you're in Vegas and you win 10 grand. You always throw the dealer a 500 chip for good luck. It's like, thank you, I'm
Right.
out. I mean, because those dealers do try and help I mean, at least at most places, they do try it because they understand too that the odds are against you, the player. So they do want you to win. The pit bosses do not want you to win, but the dealers are even trained to want you to win.
Yeah, that's true.
But then the pit bosses are trained to give a dealer a tap if they're having too many winnings. So you just have different levels. But I mean, to be honest, as long as you're not drunk and like throwing a drink in the dealer's face, they're actually for you.
Oh, I know.
You
My
know.
dad was a big gambler back
So I
in
guess
the 60s.
it's the tipping culture is so crazy. I get what I also get why most of the world doesn't do it. But at the same time, like I learned a really horrifying stat, like relating to the bartending field is that there's people who, you know, who in Europe they're bartenders and they get paid like minimum wage. I got to tell you, bartending is a lot to remember. It's a lot of
But they
work.
don't tip in Europe.
And they don't tip. And they get this minimum wage, and yet they come in and like a lot of places over there, they come in suits and tuxes and stuff, and they bartend for minimum wage. I'm like, what are you
Wow, what
doing?
the heck? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? But back to the crap
The
circles,
crap circles.
the the crop circles. So yeah, one thing. I guess the last note I had here was that I haven't like the one that I said the 2004 rock, the 1997 one found in England. I haven't seen any other. I didn't see anything else from the like even the 2000s, and I know it's been. I know if I dug deeper, I'd find it. But it seems like what we were saying, like it's just kind of ended.
I know. I find that odd. And it's
And
just that
I
everything
don't
I
know, that is
find,
odd.
everything I find that's been written, in the past 10 years are all people saying, oh, they're man made, they're man made, they're man made. There's explanations for all of it. I'm like, no, there's actually
But
not.
but then if you'd look, I mean, that would be an interesting trip to go to, over to Europe to the farm areas and go talk to the people who lived at some of these locations and
Hmm.
be like, when they came out and studied, like, what happened? I'm sure you had your friends over. Like, dude, check this out. Like, because they can only come on your property to do their research for so long, and then they're not going to mow the whole field down because they don't have the right to. So it just gets left there unless you want to take it down. So I mean, like after the whoever teams come, I'm sure you're inviting your friends and stuff. Guy, come
Oh,
over,
heck
check this
yeah.
out, dude. Dude, you're not even gonna believe
They're
this
going to have
crap.
a big barbecue right in the center of it. You bet.
Yeah, but I mean, and like you said, there's people who say that they've been healed of certain things or whatnot, and whether or not any of that part's true, nonetheless, that means for like you said, for days, people could sit in there. Again, it's not like as a UFO sighting. It's like it's real. It's very real, and no government, we don't, no, nobody has any technology to do this, and it just kind of every time it gets put off, like you said, is like, well, that was us. We accidentally let a riding lawnmower get away from us, and it made
Right.
that. Like, really? Because it's perfect math. Um, it's like I don't know. It's like the answer of every one of these is like, well, the scientists found again that it's perfect math, and it's so mathematical. There's just no way. And why even if we could, would we? What do we think we're scaring the aliens away by? Check out our technology. We can make a map in a field.
Right. And I mean, the guys that were pulling pranks, I get it. They thought it was funny. But, for there to be thousands of them that were all pranks. Yeah.
And that's what made me think too of that movie with Mel Gibson, Signs, was that I remember for in specific because he was his wife had died, and spoilers, people, spoilers. His wife had died in a horrifying accident. He was a preacher, right?
I want to tell you something. After I watch a movie 24 hours later, I remember zero.
Okay, well, you'll probably come back to you here. So
I think it's a
he
male thing because my husband remembers everything. Like men
so
always remember
Mel
things.
Gibson was a preacher, and his wife got crushed between a car and a tree.
Yikes.
And he was called out because she was still alive, but they, even when he got there, she called his name, and the way they did the filming, you only saw the upper half of her, and the cop walks up to him. I remember this scene, and he's like, you have a few minutes to go talk to her.
Oh my
um
God. I totally don't
but it
remember
was
that.
as soon as they pulled the car away from the tree, or whatever,
Oh, right. 'Cause she's
she
come
was going to
back.
die. So, and she was going to die anyway, even if they didn't. She only had a very short time,
Right.
but she was very alive. It was very strange, and that's when he gave up his faith. And so he even stopped going to church. He stopped preaching. He just gave up on faith. And that's what that movie was about. Why is this happening in the faith? When he calls that cop out, she's like, it's probably the Tucker boys or whatever she says. They've done things like this before. What do you mean,
Mhm.
dude? Like two guys that are like known just kind of jokes around XY town or whatever that can pull that off.
I know there's people that are like, "Oh, it's kids.
Right.
It's
And
the
she
little
goes out and
county
look and
kids."
she's like, yeah, yeah, probably them Tucker boys. Like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I know, but that happens in real life, though. People say that.
Right. But I would expect the government trained teams to do that. I would not expect the
Ugh.
local sheriff to come out and go, Tucker boys for sure. They got that new John Deere.
See, look, here's an article, August 7th of 2023, and somebody writes into this science magazine, and it says, "Why do you never hear about crop circles anymore? They were a staple for UFO and various fringe beliefs for decades, but now we rarely hear about them. What happened?" And the magazine goes on to say, what happened? Let's see. There was a time in the late 90s and early 2000s when you couldn't stroll through a sci fi field without encountering the odd patterns pressed into the crops, blah, 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 blah. And then it says, there was supposedly mysterious phenomenon that some believed were the products of extra I kind of can't say that word, ET activity. But now in 2023, we rarely hear about them. So what happened? Some things are trickier to explain than others, while some things have multiple competing explanations that don't quite fit. And so investigations continue. However, crop circles are not among them. They are a type of landscape art that was made by mundane agents, humans.
Yeah.
This was
Well,
less than a year ago, this was written. And it's a
you know,
science magazine.
now,
What the heck?
so now I'm thinking, okay, now I'm thinking like maybe it's like the ET phone home. The aliens that got stuck here, even that this could be its own theory, like what was it that in the Spielberg movie ET takes a what was that thing called? Speak and spell. You remember
I
Speak and Spell?
loved my speak and spell. I loved my speak and
I
spell.
knew you were gonna know that one.
Yes, it was red and had the handle. I loved
Yes.
my speak and
It was
spell.
like bigger than a laptop.
You know what I almost bought the other day, and I'm going to now because there's a whole nother reason for it. Remember Simon, the game Simon
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with the four big colors?
Oh
Well,
yeah, I remember Simon.
I saw a video the other day, and this was ingenious. But with ghost hunting equipment, they have this thing that's a triangle and it's got a red and a green button on it. And when you're talking to spirit, you'll ask them a yes or no question and they light up the red or the green. Well, somebody was doing that, but they were using the Simon game and the two of the Simon colors on it. And I was like, well, that's really smart because that costs a lot less than the other thing does. And it's the same damn thing.
So, I don't. Just real quick on Simon. When Max was growing up, there was actually like there's other Simons. Obviously, you know how things go these days. Like so you take a good invention, and then the company that
Mhm.
makes it makes like 8 other versions of it.
Right,
There
right.
was one, like all of Max's friends had. It was pretty intense. It was pretty cool actually. It was Simon. It had the taps on the end. It had two on each side, but then it had like a middle handle where you could twist either way. So you had to twist and push. It's so
Cool.
hard. It's so hard. Like I was
Hmm.
like, it's really tough.
Well, I'm going to go buy a Simon, one for ghost hunting, and two because I think as I'm getting older that it would probably help with my memory.
Yeah.
You
So
know how they tell you
guys,
to do Sudoku and all that stuff when you get older to keep your brain moving?
yeah.
Hmm.
I
Maybe
mean,
that.
anything to keep your brain moving. Like for me, I like playing a lot of chess.
Uh,
That's. I mean, Max and I have it on our dinner table.
yeah, I'm a backgammon
So,
girl.
so,
I prefer
but
backgammon.
you guys, I think that's the end of this week's podcast. Make sure you join us back here next week for Holly, if you're okay with this topic, it might be a two-parter on if you don't catch us live, but we'll get it into one live next week. Might take the 2 hours though. Is Stephen Greer.
All right. Oh God, Stephen Greer's like a year-long
Well,
part.
I know, but I figured
I
we
know.
could,
Yeah.
if we both look into different things, we can see where we'll need to do other branch offs on it.
Okay. Yep. Yep. I'm good with Stephen Greer.
So until next time, everybody, be good, and we'll see you back here next week
And
on
you
the
don't
Rabbit
even have
Hole
to tip us.
Vibrations podcast. And you don't have to tip us.